Come on, come all, come step right up to the greatest movie on earth. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Kevin Reviews. I just finished watching The Greatest Showman from 2017. This is by 20th Century Fox and TSG Entertainment, and directed by Michael Gracey. Is written by Jenny Bicks and Bill Condon. And the cast includes Hugh Jackman, Zac Efron, Zendaya, Michelle Williams, and Rebecca Ferguson, as well as Sam Humphrey and Keala. Okay, so you might wonder, why are you doing The Greatest Showman, especially around Mother's Day? I could have picked something that was, you know, that was mother friendly, or the Mother's Day theme, um, and even ones that don't seem to be always Mother's Day. I mean, the one that pops to mind is the horror film Mama. I mean, there's that one, but I didn't want to necessarily do that, because the other thing is that not only is this weekend's Mother's Day, or today's Mother's Day, however you want to see it. Um, this also happens to coincide with my mom's birthday. So with that, happy birthday, Mom! Love you. Uh, I know. But in any case, yes, it would be my mom's birthday, and I wanted to try to find a movie that's special. Now, thing was, thing is, for me personally, and maybe I'm just a terrible son for not knowing this or whatever, but I don't have a general idea of what her favorite film is. Though there are a few that came to mind. One is 8 Mile. The others are the Terminator movies, and the other one is Blade Runner. Those are the three that I remember. And there's also some others, like she loves Flicka. She was into horses, and she always wanted to, she always liked to watch a horse movie, as well as some old war Lassie movies. Those are the ones I am aware of. But for The Greatest Showman, I picked this particular film because how it kind of relates to our family history. And by that I mean my mom's dad um, was a trapeze artist for the Ringling Brothers Barnum and Baily Circus. I do not know exactly how long, or don't remember how long he worked in the circus. But the other thing, in addition, my mom often took me, uh, and the rest of my family to the circus every year, and she often told us about what's been going on with the circus, what not. Well, she told us what goes on in the circus, like some of the tricks and trades, or what they have done in the past. I remember one story that was pretty cruel, but it apparently did happen, about some lion tamer who with working with the lions and tigers, using a metal steel tip in the whip to get their attention, and it was pretty cool. And I think she even called them out on that. But I don't remember all the details, but I do remember her taking me to the circus every year, and it she was pretty heartbroken when the circus eventually closed in 2020, no, 2017, in May. So pretty much around the same time as the month that she was born in. And so it kind of just, she was pretty affected by it. But even after the Ringling Brothers Barnum and Bailey Circus closed, we often she often wanted to find different avenues or smaller circuses to, take me to. Even as an adult, she wanted to go to the circus, and I even helped her get to the circus, to, just because it was just part of her life. It was something she really loved to do, um, ever since I was a kid. So, and I do enjoy the circus too. I will admit, over time, before it closed, I think this was around the 2010s. I did start getting a little bit circus fatigue. I was seeing the same or similar acts. That it just kind of, it didn't resonate with me that much anymore. And the other fact is that a lot of the circuses had to get rid of their animals because of animal cruelty, or animal rights activists like PETA. So they had to remove that, and because they're declining ticket sales, that's when the Ringling Brothers shut their doors. Um, but my mom still loves the circus. We even went to the Ringling Brothers Museum in Florida, and it was pretty cool to see. Now, I in terms of like the animal cruelty, or people's feelings about animals being used in the circus, I understand. I'm on the fence though, because I understand about like wanting to set them free and you know be free and whatnot, but then it runs the risk of possible extinction, especially with like hunters, poachers, and predators. Um, there's that, and then but keeping them, I can also understand. With humans, it does seem cruel. At the same time, it's like I don't know. It can be educational. It can inspire people to maybe think about working with animals, and now it's gone. And I mean, and some sort of similar I think is kind of happening with the zoo, though not as much as it was with the circus, because I remember protesters being outside. And my mom often liked to would really defend the circus with all her heart. Now, whether you see her as just blind and basically just thinks she's wrong about the circus, that it's just a cruel place, I don't think she cares, and she really does care. But I can't admire her passion. I do admire her passion for the circus. So I mean, I want to thank you, Mom, for taking me to the circus. It's always been a blast, even when I did feel fatigue. But I do want to thank you. Now back to the movie. The, I'm sorry to go off on a tangent there, but um, in terms of the movie, I saw this once. I did not see this in theaters. I think I remember going to the theaters at one point, and I wanted to see a particular movie in mind, and my mom went to see The Greatest Showman. So we wanted to see different movies at the time, and I was aware before seeing it in theater before it was in theaters that it was getting some bad rap for a lot of things. And mainly because of the what's the word I'm looking for? The how they represented P.T. Barnum, and yeah, I'll get into that later. But yeah, she loved the film, and then I later saw it like with her, went home, and I remember hating this movie. Um, I remember it being a pretty sugar coated mess and musical that I did not really care for, and yet she kind of just said, you know, I mean, she accepted my opinion, but she kind of thought I guess was probably wrong. I don't remember all the detail. I don't remember everything, but she like again, she would defend any part of the circus and give any um, reason for why it did it. So they what they were doing was in the right or doing or whatever. Does it make it wrong? I don't know. It's up to your opinion. But I at least admire her passion for the circus, like her defending the circus. So I'm rewatching it again on my own, and yeah, and let's get into my review of The Greatest Showman from 2017.
So the story in The Greatest Showman is this is a rags to riches story about P.T. Barnum, or Phineas Taylor Barnum, played by Hugh Jackman, who originally was the father, not the father, the son of a tailor boy of a tailor. He has all these dreams of being a success and also impressing his loved Charity, who is played by Michelle Williams when they get older. And then they grow up, have a family. But of course, Hugh Jackman stumbles along the way when he loses his job and he's trying to figure out a new avenue to make money and make success. And he finds people who have these unique oddities that are considered freaks among their world. And he starts this museum, that later becomes a circus, and doing all these acts and whatnot. But of course, there's still some hardships along the way. With later on, he comes across Jenny Lind, the Swedish opera singer, or the Swedish Nightingale, as her nickname is called, and there's trouble brewing in the circus as well as within Barnum's family. So I'm still kind of conflicted because, yes, this has to do with a lot of my family history, so I might be a little bit biased, and because this is something for my mom, and it, I want to have her, understand, I guess, to, why I don't like this, but I can kind of see it from a different perspective now than I did before. But I don't think this is a good movie. I really don't. To get to the bad, I want to kind of get the bad stuff out of the way. It's in terms of tone, it is heavily sugar-coated. It's so beyond sugar-coated. It's almost cringy. There's a lot of moments in some dance numbers, some dialogue. There's like a moment where they head to Buckingham Palace and the Queen just has this really awkward laugh that is like, it's almost kind of funny, but it is pretty awkward and cringy. The film is pretty fast paced, which in some areas, especially the music, is good, but other times it glosses over some important stuff that could have been explored, like P.T. Barnum's father, because we don't really see him that much. He's supposed to be a tailor, but we don't really see him interact with his father that much as a kid. Nor do we see a whole lot of him when he later on in the film where eventually his father passed away, kind of spoiler warning, obviously, and he's trying to live off the streets. But, we don't really see it. It's just kind of told pretty quickly through transition and music. And though the music doesn't represent how he's transforming, it's still happy-go-lucky, happy all the time, kind of feeling or, mood. I don't know. I really wish they kind of explored a little bit more, as well as certain other characters like the crew of the people with all the oddities, deformities, physical uniqueness to them, like the bearded lady played by Keala Settle. I forgot her name immediately. Keala Settle would have been good. I mean, and she also sings very well, fantastic even. And you got Sam Humphrey as the Tom Thumb, the little person. Though they could have been explored more, and then show the dynamics they had as a family. Trying, getting paid for what they do, even though it's often seen as degrading. But other than the one song that comes later, though, "This Is Me," which is a fantastic song, that's about it. There's not a lot to it. I really wish we explored it. A lot of it is focused on P.T. Barnum. I even wish we kind of explored more of Philip Carlyle, played by Zac Efron, as well as Ann Wheeler, played by Zendaya, who have a relationship, and I think there could be something that they could have explored more, but they don't really do it that much. Other than one song they do, "Rewrite the Stars," and a moment where there is some racism involved with Carlisle's parents seeing Ann Wheeler for the first time and saying, how could you date the help? That's about it. There's nothing left. There's nothing that much. It just kind of feels shallow. And for a film that's supposed to be a theme about acceptance, self-acceptance, and whatnot, they don't explore it more. It just feels shallow and fake. And rather than focusing on those type of things as well, balancing things out, they mainly focus on P.T. Barnum himself. And yes, I will get into P.T. Barnum because there's a can of worms for him. Because unlike the film, he's supposed to be regarded as, kind of misunderstood, but a dreamer, a happy-go-lucky, a charming guy. In real life, he is quite a monster. Again, because he basically hired a lot of people with, unique deformities and abnormalities, and kind of just parade them around just for money. There is other moments like he abused animals using bull hooks. Especially to the elephants, he used bull hooks from what I read. And there's also times where he even faked certain like things, like other oddities, like he got a shrunken head of a monkey and like a petrified fish tail and put them together and say it was a mermaid. So there's that. He obviously knows how to sell. He's a profiteer. He's obviously filled with capitalism to basically, profit from all this stuff, whether it's fake or not. But he knows how to use his words. And the other thing is, there is a moment in the film where he's supposed to have a relationship. In the film, where he has a relationship with Jenny Lynn, played by Rebecca Ferguson. But that never happened in the movie. That never happened in real life. There was never a romantic relationship. It just added on for dramatic effect, and for story, for the film purpose. But the most egregious one is when he had a slave, though he found a loophole because, frankly, you can't, at his time period, the 1840s, later on, I don't remember the years exactly, he managed to lease out an old woman, but named by Joyce Heth. I'm sorry, I had to pronounce that really carefully. And he basically paraded around similar to his other the other people that he used, and said she was like 164 years old and is the wet nurse of George Washington. Even worse is when she died, he got people to pay about 50 cents to watch her autopsy. Yes, he got audience to pay to watch the autopsy of Joyce Heth, and all to make a buck and to prove her age, basically. So, yeah, it's pretty barbaric, and I'm sure there is more out there regarding him. So, the film really glosses over a lot of that stuff. It doesn't focus on that at all. Mainly it focuses on P.T. Barnum being just kind of, a charmer, a dreamer, is willing to help people. He has sympathy towards the people, who are treated badly. And yet there is a moment where he kind of does a 180 and treats his own people badly by casting them out from a party that he's in because he's enjoying his success. And I mean, I could kind of see that, especially for P.T. Barnum to do, but a lot of the other stuff they really gloss over. It feels like a Disney film. So it doesn't do the history of P.T. Barnum well. Also, the story does feel shallow. The themes about like self-acceptance is not explored enough, or race and discrimination is not explored enough, and it's also contradictory because it's almost like after the "This Is Me" song, and then it's like they don't even stand up to Barnum or talk to him or whatever. And later on in the film, when something bad happens to the circus, they try to comfort Barnum despite the treatment that they were given, and it doesn't feel as warranted. So. Yeah, and honestly, because of how the characters are pretty rushed, we don't know a ton about them except for Barnum. But even though his character is pretty much fabricated or just completely sugar-coated, I didn't end up caring that much for a lot of the characters. I don't think they're bad. I think it's casted very well, but it doesn't. I had no feeling for him. So yeah, those are my negatives about the film overall. So what are some of the positive stuff? The music and choreography is great. I do enjoy at least those things, as well as the singing. The choreography and the music is fast-paced. It has great tempo. There's like a moment where P.T. Barnum goes out onto the ring in the intro, and you see these horses kind of clip-clopping keeps right on the beat of the tempo of the music. I that was something I enjoyed. It was pretty thrilling. Again, the horses are CG, so I'm sure it worked. I'm sure it's CG really. So, but I think it's still kind of cool. It has a lot of energy. It's performed very well. It's colorful. The camera work especially is really good, especially moments where it transitions. There's like a moment where Philip Carlisle and P.T. Barnum are doing a number at a bar, and they're drinking, and it's also done very well with a pretty good song. And then it's like the camera changes quickly, and like it does a 180, and it goes right back into the circus, and it's kind of cool actually. It's almost like you're watching, because the circuses then was like a 3-ring circus, so you're kind of it's kind of moving in between those rings in a way. So that's interesting. What else? The singing is very good. Keala Settle I think is the best singer in the film with the song "This Is Me." That song especially, I do like it. I think it's the second best song, at least for me. That unfortunately got the Wegovy treatment. Yeah, there's a commercial from Wegovy that plays that song with their own lyrics. So whatever, kind of a sellout. But I think "Rewrite the Stars" is probably my favorite, because a lot of it is the song, the lyrics, the melody, and how it's done and performed by Zac Efron and Zac Efron and Zendaya. Again, I wish the relationship was explored more, but I think it really kind of solidifies that a little bit more, and shows kind of the conflict within them, much more than I would say, P.T. Barnum and Charity's number. But yeah, I think that one is good. Again, I mentioned P.T. Barnum in the film. I think is close enough in terms of how he becomes a salesman. I think that is good, minus all that what he did in the past, in real life. Now I think that's about all the positives, but the other thing I want to get into is, why did I see this differently? Why did I move from really hate it, finding it so cringy because of all the sugar-coated magical spectacle that they were trying to do? And yes, a lot of that is probably because of history with the circus, so maybe I am a little bit biased. But I don't know. I think in a way, I don't think this film is meant to be historically accurate. It's meant to be an homage or a celebration in a way of what the circus meant to so many people. Because that's what it is. It didn't really care about like story that much. And even in the circus, there were times where they actually used a little bit of story, but that wasn't the main focus. It was just kind of a way to kind of connect things to somewhat of a 3-act structure. But the main idea was to focus more on the acts and the characters. Well, maybe not all the characters in terms of depth, but just kind of put on a good show that's magical and that appeals especially to kids, and gets you good songs that make you kind of, bob your head and, and dance a bit. That was the main goal in the circus, was to give you a show, and it did it very well. And I think the film does that very well, even despite its shortcomings, and its inaccuracies galore. So it encapsulates what the circus was, and in a way still is, even in the smaller circuses that I've been to. And that, in a way, I kind of appreciate that a little bit more. Regardless of what your feelings on the circus nowadays, I think for me, because of how my connection with it, I am a bit more forgiving. Not a bit, just a tiny bit more forgiving. But yeah, and the idea that film can be an illusion. You're giving into something, that's completely not real, especially if you watch an animated film like Toy Story, for example, where toys are coming alive. It's not real. It's not real, but you're so engrossed by what it had to offer that you don't seem to care that much. And in a way, this one does it too, but it doesn't do it all the way, or it is kind of bad in terms of how it's supposed to be representing a historical thing. And other fact is, there have been movies before that involve music and that involves a person or group, like say Bohemian Rhapsody, where audience loved it, critics are on the fence about, because it does have some historical inaccuracies. And the recent film Michael, which I haven't seen, but critics slammed this film hard, but yet audience love it because it's supposed to be a life about Michael Jackson and his music. In a way, I think people just want to celebrate the music, or what he did, even if there are inaccuracies. I mean, that's the thing. Do you want to enjoy? Do you want the film to be historically accurate, or do you want to be entertained, or do you want both? I kind of would say both, but if studios want to go one way or the other, it usually has to go for entertainment. Had it tried to focus on P.T. Barnum and all the monstrous things he did, I don't think this film would have worked well, especially around Christmas time. This released on the 20th of December. So yeah, I don't think it would have worked as well, nor would it gain a lot of profit. So in a way, I think it's smart for what it is. And even I would see it like, if P.T. Barnum was alive today, I would imagine he'd do something like this. Maybe not all of it, because I don't have a full knowledge of P.T. Barnum other than what I just told you. But I think this would be something they would do, because it does emulate the circus in a way. So it just encapsulated, really. Not great, but good enough to really make people say, remember the music, sing it, and the choreography, because it's just a fun spectacle of a film. Doesn't mean I think it's a great film. I think if you want to see this film, I would say, well, first of all, my rating, I would give this 2.5. If we're going back to what my original thought on the film and when I first saw this, I probably would have given it a 1.5. But I'm going to give it 2.5. I think it's fun enough. If you turn your brain off and just enjoy for what it is, to just ignore the historical stuff involved and just appreciate, a spectacle, really. I think that if you go into that mindset, I think you'll like this film fine, or you may even love it. I know people do love it. So, yeah, I think that's about it. But in any case, what are your thoughts on The Greatest Showman? Leave in the comments below. Leave a like or dislike the review if you wish. And feel free to subscribe to my channel and click the notification bell for any updates on any reviews that will be coming out. And I will see you guys in the next review. Bye.